The Time Warp was in Cheers last night. The real Damien, believe it or not. I was finally got an artist I actually give two shits about.
9 years later, I feel like we've been in a real time warp since March. Here are my 1995 WWF pay-per-view rankings. The 1995 Royal Rumble took place January 22nd in Tampa, Florida. This was the Rumble event where Shawn Michaels became the first man to win the Royal Rumble match from number one spot. It told a pretty decent story of Shawn Michaels and Davey Boy Smith making it to the end. They were 1 and 2. But was it a great Royal Rumble match overall? No, one of the worst actually, but it gets overshadowed by what happened at the end with the whole 1 foot gimmick and Shawn Michaels becoming the first man to win from number one spot. WrestleMania 11 took place April 2nd, 1995 at the Hartford Civic Center. It's best known for not only being one of the worst WrestleManias of all time, perhaps the worst, but it was main evented by a football player Lawrence Taylor, whom went over Bam Bam Bigelow, and that was basically the end of Bam Bam Bigelow's career here at WrestleMania 11. I don't want to talk anymore about this show. The first ever In Your House pay-per-view and first of the monthly pay-per-views that have been here since 1995 took place May 14th, 1995 at Syracuse, New York. I think I butchered that Pacific New York City's name. I apologize. The main event was Sid. Sid was back in the WWF and he took on Diesel in the first ever In Your House main event. But the match of the night for me was the opening between Bret Hart and Hakushi. The third annual King of the Ring took place on June 25th in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. This is a notorious bad pay-per-view according to some fans. I actually liked this when I was younger, but obviously I've watched it more recently and I can see why it's pointed out to be one of the worst pay-per-views of all time. Just, take away Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker from this King of the Ring tournament setup. There's not many stars to be seen, and King Mabel became king, obviously, hence why he's called King Mabel. And our final match was Savio Vega. It was a different choice of king compared to the previous two technically sound wrestlers winning the King of the Ring tournament. But unfortunately for Mabel, it was a failed experiment. In Your House 2 took place on July 23rd from Nashville, Tennessee. The match of the night and one of the best In Your House matches ever was between Shawn Michaels and Jeff Jarrett. This really enhanced the show, and it was a feel-good moment when Shawn Michaels became Intercontinental Champion once again, first time as a good guy. The 8th annual Summerslam took place on August 27th in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The highlight of SummerSlam was, without doubt, the ladder match, the rematch between Razor Ramon and Shawn Michaels for the Intercontinental Championship once again. This ladder match topped the WrestleMania 10 encounter. I remember watching this when it first came out, and this was one of the most exciting matches I've seen, watching it for the first time way back in 1995 when I was a young kid. Also, Bret Hart pulled out a very decent match with Yankem DDS, the guy that would become Kane a couple of years later, Glenn Jacobs. In Your House 3 took place September 24th, 1995 in Michigan. Looking back at my rating for this show, I only gave it a 5 out of 10, but looking back at the matches listed, I'm not sure why. Every match looks like it would have been solid, and it was a fun main event. With Shawn Michaels and Diesel getting the tag team titles when every title in the WWF at the time was on the line. They took on the British Bulldog and Yokozuna and Owen Hart, who arrived late to the show, all part of the storyline. Perhaps it was the bad booking of Psycho Sid during his match with Henry O'Godwin that took a few points off this show. In Your House 4 took place on October 22nd, 1995, and we are in Canada. It seems if you're a pay-per-view in 1995, specifically at In Your House pay-per-view, you don't have Shawn Michaels wrestling, and you don't have Bret Hart wrestling, the show is really not that great. Usually one of those two or both of them are the saving graces, but none of them were wrestling on the show. Bret Hart was doing commentary. Shawn Michaels was lost his smile, injured, whatever the hell that was happening during this time. And we got the main event match between the British Bulldog and Diesel, which I can't seem to find anybody like this match. Vince McMahon was apparently absolutely furious at how bad it was. 4 out of 10, to quote Bret Hart. One of the greatest pay-per-views of all time took place November 19th, 1995. It was the 9th annual Survivor Series from Maryland. There was not a dull moment at this show. The opening traditional Survivor Series 4-on-4 match was great. Featured the likes of Mari Janae and the 1-2-3 Kid. Some great wrestling involved here. The women's Survivor Series match, the best one I've seen, from this was the first time there had been a women's Survivor Series match since the 1987 edition. It beat that one. Goldust Bam Bam Bigelow was interesting. The return of The Undertaker was an awesome moment here at the Survivor Series where he debuted. The wild card match, the 4-on-4, which paired Aman Johnston teaming up with the British Bulldog, Shawn Michaels and Psycho Sid to take on Dean Douglas, Owen Hart, Razor Ramon and Yokozuna. One of the greatest Survivor Series matches of all time. And then to top all off, the main event between Bret Hart and Diesel for the WWF Championship was so memorable. Memorable table spot, great match throughout, great build-up. 9 out of 10. Perhaps should be a 10 out of 10 show. So we go from one of the best to the actual worst in my rankings so far of all the pay-per-views I've rewatched. My next pay-per-view is Invasion 2001. Yes, there's a few wrestling events rankings to go. But this is currently sitting bottom. It's in the 4 out of 10 club below In Your House 4. In Your House 5 took place December 17th in Pennsylvania. There's absolutely no reason to watch this show with the exception of the solid match that was Bret Hart versus the British Bulldog. Wasn't as great as their Wembley Arena encounter. Still solid from both guys, but this show up until that point was absolutely god-awful. So my final rankings for 1995 look like this. Rock bottom is In Your House 5. And number 1 is an event that was bottom for the past 4 years in my rankings, the Survivor Series. When booked right, it can be a fantastic show.